said, Pete, I had bad news. Boys want Ringo to be their drummer.
Laugh-In's Judy Carn.
I have these wonderful titles. The Suck It To Me Girl, the ex-Mrs. Vertrenos.
News-making presidential brother, Billy Carter.
I probably became the most famous drunk in the United States.
The Addams Family's Uncle Fester, Jackie Coogan. Jane and Joan, those perky Doublemint twins. Get Smart's Agent 99, Barbara Feldon. The Wicked Witch of the West, Margaret Hamilton. San Francisco heiress, Patty Hearst.
I don't live in the past, and I try not to drag it along with me.
Abscam wife, Rita Jenrette.
I guess some of you are wondering why I did Playboy magazine. Sometimes I wonder myself.
Glamour-era movie star, Dorothy Lamour. The celebrity all America was asking about, Rula Lenska. Movie nymphette Lolita Sue Lyons.
Did you ever wonder what I really said to James Mason when I leaned down and whispered in his ear?
The man who presented America's Most Beautiful Women, Bert Parks. Little Eddie of the Munsters, Butch Patrick. The Donna Reed Show's Paul Peterson and Patty Peterson. Jack in the Box's Rodney Allen Rippey. Watch spokesman John Cameron Swayze. And in his final television appearance, special guest star Pat O'Brien. And you'll be invited to a reunion of Batman with special guests Batman, Adam West, and Robin, Burt Ward, and Batman villains Minerva, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Catwoman, Eartha Kitt, Bad Harry Liberace, Venus, Terry Moore, Catwoman, Julie Newmar, Egghead, Vincent Price, and the Joker, Cesar Romero.
Even to this day, kids come up to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Romero, will you laugh like the Joker?" And I do it.
All on Celebrities, Where Are They Now? Here is the host of our show, the star of Fantasy Island, Ricardo Montalban.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Celebrities, Where Are They Now? You just saw a list of all those interesting people, and we're going to have a wonderful time bringing you up to date on them. I'd like to start, however, with some people who weren't on that list, some actors I'm personally familiar with. For instance, this young man dancing with a lovely Sid Charisse in the 1940s. No, it's not Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, no. This Japanese kabuki performer from the film Sayonara in the late 1950s. No, it's not Toshiro Mifune or Bruce Lee. And this Indian chief who in the 1960s won an Emmy for his performance in How the West Was Won. No, that's not Chief Dan George. Well, where are they now? In the 1970s and 80s, the young dancer became Khan, whose wrath threatened Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock of the Starship Enterprise. The Japanese kabuki performer became Mr. Rock of Fantasy Island. And the Indian chief became the host of Celebrities, Where Are They Now? Oh, by the way, remember my dance partner, Sid Charisse? Where is she now? Well, she's on Fantasy Island this season and still as beautiful as ever. Watch. Julie. Sid Charisse is a celebrity who has known fame throughout her career. Most people never even have a chance at fame. And then there are a few who almost achieve it. So near and yet so far. In the mid-60s, 4 young men became the most famous celebrities in the world. John, Paul, George, and Ringo, the Beatles. But there was a 5th Beatle who today is just another face in the crowd. His name is Pete Best.
We were
leather jackets. We had Tony Curtis, Elvis Presley hairstyles. When I look back at the old photographs, they bring back a lot of fond memories and also a lot of humorous times, simply because of the fact that I think today's image of the Beatles is greatly different to what it was in the past. The movie The Birth of the Beatles really tells the story of what happened to me and my time with the Beatles.
Anyway, Ringo's a professional.
One evening I was told by Brian Epstein to report to his office the following morning, and then he turned around and said, "Pete,
I have bad news. Boys want Ringo to be their drummer."
It was something which I'd never expected because I'd been with them 2 years through thick and thin. We were the best of friends. And yet all of a sudden, this particular morning, I was no longer a Beatle. When I was replaced by Ringo, word got out in Liverpool and around Merseyside, and the fans which were loyal to me and to the Beatles at that time put on a hell of a demonstration in the streets outside the cabin in Matthew Street, and they had banners and placards with Pete Forever, Ringo Never. I didn't realize at that time that the fans would be so loyal to me. I know that the guys are millionaires many times over, but I'm a civil servant. I earn approximately about £400 a month, which is, I don't know, $700. When I'm in London, I always make a point of visiting the scene of the Beatles' greatest triumph, which is Abbey Road. I will always be a Beatle. My life was affected by the association. I will always follow in their path.
Pete Best has been married for 25 years and has 2 lovely daughters, which proves that the Beatles song is true. Can't Buy Me Love. We'll be right back with more celebrities after this.
With a reunion of Batman heroes and villains, and newsmakers like Patty Hearst.
Gene Shalit, is that a Ford Tempo you're driving?
You bet it is.
Why Tempo?
Well, I screened it.
And your review?
Tempo, a moving vehicle produced by Ford. I was carried away by its easy handling.
Easy handling?
And front-wheel drive for good traction, whatever the weather.
Very good.
And those lines, so dramatically modern, so smartly cast.
You know that Tempo's now outselling all the imports in America?
Of course, Tempo has star quality.
Okay, Gene, you can take your mustache off now. Have you driven the best-built American cars? Have you driven a Ford lately?
Wendy's got new hot stuffed baked potatoes.
Hot.
Chicken a la king.
With mushrooms, peas, and things.
Stroganoff with beef and sour cream.
Good grief.
They're too good to be true. They're new.
Wendy's.
Hot stuffed baked potatoes. These 2 new kinds are gonna blow your mind. Something better for Wendy's kind of people.
The word celebrities usually refers to famous people. But what about all those 4-wheel celebrities? Like Jack Benny's Maxwell, Walt Disney's Love Bug, the Dukes of Hazzard's General Lee, Kit, the computer car on Knight Rider, and perhaps the most famous car of all, the Batmobile. And of course, you all recognize its famous occupants, Batman, Adam West, and Robin, Burt Ward.
Mr. Lord, Bert and I have a fantasy. Do you think that you could grant it?
Well, I am not on home territory, but I could try. What do you have in mind?
We'd like to have a 15th anniversary reunion of the Batman class of 1968, the last year of our show.
Oh, I think that could be arranged. With which villain would you like to begin?
What about that gangster of gags? The Joker is played by Cesar Romero.
At this moment, the brightest star in my criminal constellation is about to make off with Scorpio the Scorpion.
I had a ball playing the Joker. I really don't know why the producer, William Dozier, picked me for that part, but I'm awfully glad he did because I had great fun doing it. The only thing I didn't like was putting on that green wig and all that makeup every morning. Other than that, it was all uphill. Even to this day, kids come up to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Romero, will you laugh like the Joker?" And I do it. Oh, what a talent.
And the Joker's partners in crime, Venus, played by Terry Moore.
Only I'd met you when I was younger.
A crooked path can often be straightened, Venus.
I think that I made the only 3-part Batman. I know I'm the only girl lucky enough to get to make love with 3 men in the same movie. Not only did I have love scenes with Batman, but also with the Penguin, Burgess Meredith, and the Joker, Cesar Romero, 2 of the greatest pros of our time.
Bring on Harry, the bad twin of the great Chandel, as played by Liberace.
You're not the great Chandel. You must be that awful twin brother I read about in the papers. Your name is Harry, is it not?
Your cleverness outdoes itself, sweet lady.
Like some of the children, I loved the villains because they were sort of anti-heroes. And you always wanted to see what they could do to put Batman and Robin in a predicament. And then, of course, it was fun to see how they got out of it.
And now, both feline felons. First, Catwoman Eartha Kitt.
Most apt, boy blunderer. But the presence of you here indicates that you have forsaken your partner in crime in order to pursue me.
It was extremely exciting to play Catwoman because it gave me a chance to take the hokeyism out of myself. And I'm a very sophisticated, hokey person. Oh.
And now the other crooked kitten, Catwoman Julie Newmar.
What have you done with Robin?
Oh, is that your way to greet an old friend, Batman? Not even a hello, how are you?
I was sitting on my sofa on the 13th floor of my New York City cat house, and quite catastrophically, the phone rang. Now, my brother John was visiting me from Harvard with 6 of his friends. And this was a dogmatic Hollywood producer, Miss Newmar. Yeah. How would you like to play the Catwoman on the Batman show? The Catwoman on the what show? Well, 7 bodies leapt catatonically into the air and said, Batman, that's our favorite show.
I hope money-mad Minerva, Zsa Zsa Gabor, can make it.
But to accuse me and my staff for attempting murder is completely ridiculous.
Well, now that this little misunderstanding is straightened out.
Not exactly straightened out, Minerva. Just where did you pick up those 3 male assistants?
I don't pick up man. Man pick me up.
Well, I loved the character. She was a real wicked woman. The wardrobe was all gold and silver, and nothing can be more exciting than that. And she had a beauty parlor, and she had these hair dryers on the people's head, and this hair dryers got all the spy stories out of the people's brains, and I could find out what they were thinking. One person, for example, I could find out all the combination of his, it was a jewelry salesman, of his safe, and I opened that safe, and the diamonds just kept on falling all over me. What could be better than at MGM in the afternoon having diamonds falling all over you? I loved it.
And finally, that eccentric, egomaniac, egghead, Vincent Price.
The logistics are correct. But even if I'm wrong about your being Batman, Mr. Wayne, your brain will be utterly destroyed.
I was fascinated to be in the Batman series because I really felt they were among the most brilliant series of television shows ever done. And I still think so. The imagination and the really creativeness that went into these shows was extraordinary. They were way ahead of their time.
All right. Now that we've seen you all, I'd like to put you all together.
What for, Mr. Rock?
Well, a class picture is in order, don't you think? And you two should be in it.
All right, thank you.
The Batman class of 1968. A group to remember. And speaking of villains, here is one that has scared several generations of youngsters and a few adults, too. The Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz.
Who killed the Witch of the East? Was it you?
No, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill anybody.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
She was played by the very sweet, the very gentle Margaret Hamilton.
I'm so glad to be out of Oz. It was pleasant and fun, but it's really nice to be home now. I live on Gramercy Park where you can walk and enjoy yourselves, and it's very pleasant to look out the windows. And as I said before, there's no place like home. When the picture first came out, not everybody went to see it. But then all of a sudden, many people went, and they said, oh, you must go, you mustn't miss it, you must see it. So a great many people went. And once upon a time, also, there was a little boy that met me. His mother said, would you like to meet the Wicked Witch of the West? And he said, yes, he thought he would. Well, they came over, and he stood right in front of me and just looked at me and looked at me and looked at me. And I said, well, it's so nice to meet you. And he said, you were mean. And I said, oh, well, I guess I was. But that was a part of it. That was just pretending. That wasn't really myself. He said, you were mean. And I said, well, I guess I was. What do you think?
Headlines. They are designed to catch our eye and our interest. The name Patty Hearst has caught our eye and our interest many times since 1974, when she was kidnapped by the Symbionese Liberation Army.
There was so much publicity about my kidnapping and the trial and everything else. People reacted in all kinds of different ways, usually pretty dramatically. You know, don't let things bother me about the past, and I just go ahead on with the present. I don't live in the past, and I try not to drag it along with me. I met my husband while he was working as a bodyguard, protecting me when I was first released from prison. And we got to know each other over the years, and then eventually got married. I'm really happy with my life. I'm a wife and a mother, and I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I have a really good time being a mother. And I hope to have more children, and I hope to have them soon.
Many times, people become newsmakers not by intent. This was especially true in the case of Billy Carter, who became an instant celebrity by association.
Well, up until 1976, when Jimmy was elected president, I guess I lived a pretty normal life by almost anybody's standards. I actually thought then that I would be in the peanut business and the farm business for the rest of my life. I tried many ventures. I guess probably the most famous was the bitter beer fiasco or what have you. After that, we sold bitter beer for a couple of years, as I probably became the most famous drunk in the United States. And then I went to Long Beach, California, while Jimmy was president, for alcohol treatment. Now I am vice president in charge of marketing with Scott Housing, which we have plants here in Waycross, Georgia, and in Tennessee. We're building about 35 houses a day, and I enjoy every minute of it.
U.S. Representative John Jenrette and his wife Rita seemed to be Washington, D.C.'s storybook couple. Then came the Abscam revelations, which destroyed John's career and revealed a marriage beset by problems, some of which got aired in public on the Donahue Show.
Mr. Jenrette, sir, what are you doing now?
Well, I'm trying to get my $35,000 back that she took.
Oh, really? Well, I'd like my $30,000 worth of silver that you removed from the house, and every stick of furniture, and everything else you took out of the house. If this is going to become a divorce case here, John. Peter Range, the Playboy representative in Washington, came to our home. And he said, I'd like you to do an article for Playboy like you did for the Washington Post. I guess some of you are wondering why I did Playboy magazine. Sometimes I wonder myself. They had me do some photos in beautiful gowns and things, all dressed. And I snuck some of the Polaroids out, and I brought them back to John, and I thought we'd have a big laugh over it. And he said, who wants to see a 29-year-old woman in Playboy? And I looked at him and I said, I'll show you who wants to see a 29-year-old woman. And It turned out to be one of the biggest issues Playboy's ever had.
We'll be right back with more celebrities after this.
Like the stars of some of your favorite commercials and the answer to the question, who is Rula Lenska?
You're my tab, you're one of a kind. You're a one-calorie friend of mine. You're my tab, you're the taste for me. You're beautiful as a cola can be. So you know what I think. You're my perfect soft drink.
My taste.
You're not my diet anything. You're my tab.
What else?
You're not my diet anything. You're my tab.
Daddy, they're coming.
Imagine a child.
She's very beautiful, she's very young.
Who has the power.
She can light fires, yes, but you're making her sound like Armageddon.
Now meet Charlie McGee.
We'll have
8 years old.
Come to me, Charlie.
And afraid.
Charlie?
Feel for her. Fear for her. Charlie McGee is Stephen King's fire starter. Will she have the power to survive? Rated R. Starts Friday at select theaters. Check newspapers for locations.
Kodak presents your other camera, Trim Print Instant Camera and Film.
First to snap it, trim, print, share it, trim, print, tear it and trim. The ones you like the best. Trim prints are thin, you can cut, you can trim. And isn't that smart? Snap it, trim, print, share it, trim, print, tear it and trim it. And keep it close to your heart.
Trim Print, the other camera like no other camera, only from Kodak.
Friday, there's a big surprise at Benson's Luau. Then,
Have some music, please.
Webster throws George and Catherine a second wedding to save their marriage.
Kind of neat, huh?
Then,
Very impressive.
a beautiful terrorist takes Blue Thunder for a ride. And Matt Houston's protecting 12 beautiful bodies.
We've lost our Miss February.
The Centerfold murders. Tomorrow, all starting at 8.
Here is a riddle for you. How can people be celebrities if we don't even know their real names? Well, they can if the names we do know are Little Oscar, or the Doublemint Twins, or the little kid in the Jack in the Box commercials. Not only do we know commercial stars, but we remember them for a long, long time.
Take life a little easier.
Last time you seen me with the hamburger, I was only 3.5 years old. I'm 15 years old now. That's when it all started, me and Jack in the Box.
Crank up the car, Jack in the Box.
Between the ages of 3.5 and 12, I've done many things, and I had fun doing all of them. The one I liked most was on the American Music Awards. It was me, Ricky Sagal, and then Donny Osmond.
Do you know the nominations?
No.
You don't know the nominations? Okay, well, maybe I can help you. No, that was the last one. Have you ever heard of the Carpenters?
No.
Okay, well, that's one of them. Have you ever heard Gladys Knight and the Pips?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's another one. And let's see. Well, no, not yet, not yet. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Do you know them?
No.
Okay. Well, the winner is...
Once I get out of high school, I'd like to go to college and take up producing and directing. I'd still like to pursue my acting career, but I'd just like to have that behind me, something to fall on.
Time marches on, doesn't it? Speaking of time, you're going to be surprised when you find out how long ago this top brass commercial ran on TV. It was one of the first commercials to delightfully mix sex with humor and had everybody talking about the beautiful model who eventually became Agent 99 on Get Smart, Barbara Feldon.
I want a word with all you tigers. Oh, you men know which ones you are. I like you.
For years, people have been growling at me on the street, which makes the world a rather friendly and amusing place. Actually, Get Smart happened much later on, and through a whole other series of events, and not because of that commercial. Sometimes people ask me, since I've been so involved with the women's movement and have a program on Hearst ABC called The 80s Woman, dealing with women's issues and all geared to women fulfilling themselves in the marketplace and getting equality and so forth, how I feel about the fact that there I was, a sex object on a tiger skin rug. And my feeling about that is that actually what happens in the marketplace between men and women is one thing, but what happens on their tiger skin rugs is quite another.
Torturing watches is an unusual way to become a celebrity, but it made newsman John Cameron Swayze even more of a household name.
Well, just imagine. The Timex watch on that propeller, let's lift her out, has been...
I hope that a good many of you remember some of those other commercials we did for Timex in those other years. They were lots of fun, and they were tough for the watch. We did one in Acapulco, I remember, with the diver. Off the cliff, you know, by Mirador. He did it 6 times to get it right. The watch took it every time, right on his fist, hit the water at 85 miles an hour. We went to we went many places in the United States. We went many places, had it on a ski out in Sun Valley. We had it frozen in the ice for a ice skater, and showed the Timex, as they said, took a licking, but came out ticking. I started as a newspaper reporter in Kansas City, Missouri, and then we moved to California, and I was head of the news department for a national network out there. And I think that's what led to Timex, because they wanted somebody who the public would believe, make sure it was on the up and up, these tests, which they were, believe me. As a matter of fact, just to show you how it was, let's see the rest of that commercial we started.
Well, just imagine. The Timex watch on that propeller, let's lift her out, has been slashed through the water on that blade to the tune of 4,500 revolutions per minute. What a test for a waterproof, shock-resistant watch. It was such a test that it threw the watch off in the tank, and I'm very sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, because we had it all arranged so you would get a picture of that sweep hand still working, as it did perfectly during numerous rehearsals here tonight, I assure you.
Well, the watch took a licking, but it kept on ticking. It was the strap that broke.
Ever since London actress Rula Lenska started appearing in those Alberto VO5 commercials, everyone started asking this question. Who is Rula Lenska?
I'm Rula Lenska. I'm Rula Lenska.
I'm Rula Lenska.
Hello. I'm Róża Maria Laura Leopoldina Monika Łubieńska. It's quite a mouthful, isn't it? But you probably know me better as Rula Lenska. That's right, the lady who made the commercials, and everybody started asking, who is Rula Lenska? Well, that's me. And I'm here, alive and well, and living in London. The commercials started in the States about 4 years ago, and I believe they've been shown there until about 2 years ago, and they were great fun to make. And suddenly, before I knew where I was, people were saying, who is Rula Lenska? And it became quite a sort of cult in the States. Since then, I've just been living the life of a normal actress here. I've just finished a tour of a thriller called Mr. Fothergill's Murder on tour and in town. And very soon I'm starting work on a movie with the great Betty Davis, which I'm really excited about.
In this 25-year-old jingle, these lovely twins were trying to sell you...
Double mint gum, double delicious, double smooth too. Double mint, double delightful to chew. So double your pleasure, double your fun. Get double everything rolled into one. Oh, double your pleasure, double your fun with double mint gum.
Remember, honey, that was over 20 years ago when Mr. Wrigley found us singing at CBS Radio in Chicago and decided to make us the original Doublemint twins.
I'm Joan.
And I'm Jane.
Well, since then, our lives have changed quite dramatically. My sister has 3 children.
And my sister has 3 children.
Jane lives in Beverly Hills.
Joe lives in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Aunt Jane has a very busy life. She sits by her pool, she gets her nails done, she gets her hair done, she goes to dance class, exercise class.
Stop teasing me, I love it. So I really like working out because I really think it does beautiful things for my body, and psychologically, it's really good for my mind. And Joan works at Gucci in Chicago in the jewelry department.
I enjoy working for an international company. I enjoy meeting people from all over the world. It is a delight to meet them, and helping them doubles my pleasure.
It'll always be an honor being the first Doublemint twins.
We loved every minute of it.
We'll be right back with more celebrities.
Beautiful people, Dorothy Lamour, Sue Lyon, Judy Carn, and expert on beauties, Bert Parks, after this.
Burger King would like to ask you a very important, very crucial question. But relax, it's also very easy. If you think flame broiling is the best way to make a tender, juicy, tasty steak, what do you think is the best way to make a tender, juicy, tasty hamburger? Think about it. Now here's another question. If McDonald's and Wendy's fry and Burger King flame broils...
Aren't you hungry for Burger King now?
Running a nursing home takes care and attention, love, a lot of love. There just aren't enough hours in the day. And when a headache comes along, well, fortunately, there's Anacin.
Regular strength pain relievers stop at 650 milligrams, but Anacin gives you more medicine, 800 milligrams.
It's comforting to know about more medicine, but no more headache. That's real therapy.
Anacin, more medicine.
Saturday lights up with all new episodes. First, who stands between gang war and peace? T.J. Hooker. And for Isaac, business doesn't mix with pleasure.
Okay, you're fired.
The Love Boat. Then Sammy Davis steals the show on Fantasy Island.
Saturday, starting at 8.
Celebrities, Where Are They Now? Will continue in a moment.
Sunday, ABC Theater is proud to present Jane Fonda as the doll maker. A mother with enough love and courage to turn her dreams into triumphs.
I'm just beginning.
The Doll Maker, an ABC Mother's Day special at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Ah, California raisins, a touch of magic.
You can make a cantaloupe sweet. You can give the chicken some spice. You can make some little cakes small, chewy and nice. You can make some yummy popcorn. You can make a salad taste great. Raisins add a magic touch to anything you make.
This is as close as you can get to the car of the future. The Audi 5000S. Years ahead in German technology. Smooth and slippery to the wind. It is America's most aerodynamic luxury sedan. If you think it's the most beautiful, all the better. The 5000S from Audi.
See your local Southern California Porsche Audi dealer.
Observe spring fever this week at 11.
Today, celebrities have to have charisma. But in Hollywood's heyday, the 40s and 50s, a celebrity had to have personality.
Personality.
Dorothy Lamour had it, and she sang about it.
Or Pierrot in Pierrette, or Jupiter in Juno, you know. And once alone we danced and had the boys entranced. No doubt it must have been easy to see
that she knew how to use her personality. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a song from The Road to Utopia. You know, I know a lot of you think that the road pictures are the ones that really got me into quote-unquote stardom. But they really didn't. There was a little picture called The Jungle Princess with Ray Milland. And those road pictures were wonderful, believe me. And I think how much fun they were, and I really wouldn't dare say it in those days. But believe me, I should have paid them. Now I can say it.
Yeah.
I see no reason why a girl can't go out and have a good time with two fellas.
Of course not, as long as one of them's a grandfather.
Why, Mrs. Sperry, you don't look that old.
It was wonderful fun, as I've said.
I'd rather be a dreamer with a penny than a rich gal with a worried mind.
God bless you. Aloha.
Ah, yes, personality. These may just seem like a pair of heart-shaped sunglasses to you. But in 1962, they had a very special meaning. They were worn by the most sensational movie character of the year, a beautiful, worldly wise nymphette called Lolita. Look at this encounter between Humbert H. Humbert, played by James Mason, and Lolita, played by Sue Lyon.
No, I don't want to do that.
Oh, what do you want to do?
This is me in 1959. I really can't believe how fast the time has gone. Did you ever wonder what I really said to James Mason when I leaned down and whispered in his ear? Well, it was almost lunchtime and we were both hungry, so I asked him when was lunch. I became an actress when I was 14, not really by any grand design. We needed the money, and my mother and my sister helped me to meet photographers and agents, and I was very lucky. It wasn't like most of the stories you hear where people struggle all their lives. When I was a little girl, my brothers and I spent many, many days in this park, fishing and riding on paddle boats and rowboats and chasing ducks. I live near here now with my daughter, Nona. She's 11. And although she's expressed some interest in becoming either a singer or a movie star or something like that, I've told her I'd really rather she wait until she's out of school. I wasn't able to do that, and I'd like to see her be able to stay in school. I'm still in school. I study Spanish, and I worked for some time as a bilingual teacher's assistant, which I really love doing. But at this point, I'd like to go back to acting, if I can. Maybe with a lot of luck, like I've always had, and hard work, I can do it.
The Sock It To Me girl, Judy Carn.
Remember that? That's 15 years ago. Laughing was fantastically exciting for me and everybody involved in it. And it was so innovative and creative and new. And we broke new grounds. The only ex-Mrs. Burt Reynolds. That's another of my titles, you see. I have these wonderful titles. The ex-Mrs. Burt Reynolds, the Sock It To Me girl. But yes, we met in the 60s, and he was doing a TV series where he was appearing semi-regularly on Gunsmoke. And I was doing a comedy show called The Fair Exchange. Bert, to me, and still, the first time I saw him, I laughed. The first thing out of his mouth was funny, and it was odd because afterwards, when we got very close, of course, and married, girlfriends of mine would say to me, God, your husband, you know, he's so gorgeous, hunky. You know, I used to go, really? Well, yes, I knew it wasn't ugly, you know. But I remember how Bert proposed to me very well. Particularly well, I think, because I've never been the sort of person that's very marriage-oriented in the sense that it's not the first thing that comes to mind, you know. I suppose it's because I'm not particularly maternal and haven't had any children or anything, I don't know. Anyway, we were actually living together at the time in the Hollywood Hills, and I came home from work one day, and he said, we must be married. I must marry you. It was very important to Bert to have the actual ceremony, and eventually became important to me, too. I think that's one of the things that destroyed us very much, both of us in divorce, is the fact that we were both very, very serious on the fact that it would be till death do us part. And we took that very seriously. And time went on, and it eventually ended a lot of troubles, and eventually ended having a very bad road accident and breaking my neck. So they put me in this contraption. I broke the second vertebrae in the neck, which has all your nerve endings, and that's why it's so treacherous, a break. It was clean across. They showed me in the x-rays. In fact, they told me I had a 50-50 chance of living and a 75% against 25% of ever walking again. So here I am now, fully recovered and feeling fantastic. What the future holds is very exciting. Things are opening up in America. I'm dying to work and dying to get stuck in there again. The feeling this time that I have is that I know who I am, and whatever, I'm not going to blow it again.
For 22 years, one of the most envied men in America was one who got paid to hang around with the country's most beautiful women. The former host of the Miss America pageant, Bert Parks.
Here I am, one lucky American. There's been so many beautiful girls in my life. But for 40 years, I've loved the most beautiful. Here she is, my wife. She's not really my wife. She came from Central Casting. Maybe some of you will recognize this panoramic view, which is the contest in Atlantic City, which I was associated with from 1955 to 1979. Let me tell you some of the other things. First of all, I started as an announcer at CBS in 1933. I was the youngest network announcer in history, having given them a snow job about my age and educational background, etc. And then from there, I progressed on to do a great variety show on radio called The Eddie Cantor Show, in which I was a straight man, an announcer. And then you name the quiz show. I was doing 11 shows a week, both radio and television. Things like Stop the Music, which ran 8 years. Break the Bank ran 11, Double or Nothing. You name it, I did it. And one of the great proud achievements of my life was having been chosen to succeed Robert Preston in The Music Man on Broadway. And altogether, I played that wonderful show 462 times. I toured the country with it and loved it. Well, where I live, we built this about 27 years ago. It's tough duty, but somebody's got to do it. But along with all these perks, my friends, is something I'm sure very familiar to you, a task that needs to be done.
Your favorite child stars, and the final television appearance of beloved Hollywood legend Pat O'Brien.
In Saint-Tropez, almost all they wear is the deep, dark color of
Bain de soleil for the Saint-Tropez.
Bain de Soleil. Protection de 4, 6, 8, 15.
Bain de soleil for the Saint-Tropez.
For people who can choose anything they want, and they choose the best.
Bain de soleil.
Okay, Amy, what else does your mom want?
Bandages.
Your mom always buys Band-Aid brand.
Why?
Because it's the best way to protect your cuts.
Why?
Because nothing sticks better, breathes better, or stretches better than Band-Aid brand. In fact, more hospitals use them.
Why?
Because hospitals know best.
But why?
Amy, is there anything else?
I'll check.
Thank you.
Trust Band-Aid brand from Johnson & Johnson. The best protection there is.
Scott Mason, spokesman for Act Fluoride Rinse from Johnson & Johnson. Well, Scott's saying kids still get cavities, even with brushing. But Act Fluoride Rinse could cut them 40% more. A squeeze gives you just the right amount. Good point. The American Dental Association recommends a fluoride rinse daily, even for adults. Just ask Scott's dad. Well put, gentlemen. The best thing to happen to teeth in 25 years.
It's very pretty. It's very soft. I like the scent of the new deodorant Maxi Thins.
Kate Belm liked the fragrance, but she wanted proof that deodorant Maxi Thins really protect.
If it's not going to protect me, then I don't need that. Okay, I'm picking up the thick pad material and the Maxi Thin center.
No other deodorant pad, thick or thin, has Maxi Thin's Maxi Absorbent Center.
I can't believe it. I'm definitely going to buy new deodorant Maxi Thins.
New deodorant Maxi Thins. Proven protection. Prove it to yourself.
It's two super specials, first on Monday.
Do blondes have more fun?
Joan Collins and Morgan Fairchild host Blondes versus Brunettes. And on Tuesday, a super special hour of foul-ups, bleeps, and blunders. Monday, Blondes versus Brunettes. Tuesday, an hour of foul-ups.
Remember this bizarre group called the Addams Family? Well, one of the favorite characters on this mid-60s TV series was Uncle Fester, played by Jackie Coogan.
I'll start it off with a great big bang. Yeah.
Jackie Coogan was once the most famous child actor in the world after he co-starred with Charlie Chaplin in The Kid.
My career lasted from the time I was 4 years old until I was 15. And then there was absolutely no stories to do. The money that I made was taken by my parents. It was roughly $14 million that I had accrued, not directly through acting, but through business deals that were made with my money. My father was dead, and I had to sue my corporation that controlled the money, and the head of the corporation was my mother. And it made it very touchy. I came out of the lawsuit with less than $200,000. And they formulated 36-1. It's called the Coogan Law.
The Coogan Law attempted to protect child actors' earnings.
It's rather an outdated law now, and I'd like to see it changed. What I want to be remembered as a person that didn't ever do anything to harm anybody.
The Addams family's rivals were the equally bizarre Munsters, and son Eddie was played by Butch Patrick.
I suppose you've thought it over and have a very good reason for leaving your comfortable home and the people who love you.
Yes, I have.
I see. And what is that reason?
It's rotten here.
Rock videos are what I'm doing now. My partner and I, Phil Cohn, who used to play with Stuart Copeland of the Police in Europe, well, we got together and we decided to make rock videos as a living. Pretty strange stuff, huh? Well, it's still me in makeup after 20 years. Whatever happened to Eddie? That's my new song out on Rockshire Records. You all remember the TV show The Munsters, of course. I was Eddie Munster, even though I don't have pointed ears and a widow's peak anymore.
Yes?
Did you say goodbye to Mom for me?
I grew up just like everyone else. Cars, girls, sun and sand, and having a good time going through school, just like everybody should.
Some celebrities ride to special events in great big limousines. But this celebrity from the Donna Reed show goes everywhere in his. You see, he is the owner and the driver.
Hi, my name's Paul Peterson. This, as you can see, is what I'm into now. Have a limousine company here in Southern California, half a dozen of these things. Getting ready for the Olympics in '84. Things are a little different than a few years ago when I used to come into your living rooms on the Donna Reed show from 1958 to 1966. 8 years. I grew up there, 12 to 20.
I want you to come over. I'll stay.
Actually, those were really good years. I had a great time. But I'd started working long before that. I was one of the original members of the Mouseketeers. Lasted 3 weeks, and they fired me for conduct unbecoming a mouse. Yeah, I didn't know that kid actors aren't supposed to be children. I did all the usual things on a family show. I grew, changed my hairstyle half a dozen times, had a couple of hit records, and then discovered what all bubblegum stars discover: when the work is done, the career's over. In 1974, I wrote a book called Walt, Mickey, and Me, which is a nonfiction book detailing the experiences of the kids who served as members of the Mickey Mouse Club. I wrote the book as much to find out about my experiences as to find out about these other kids. I'll give you the short part of the book. No successful kid actor has ever let their own kid be in show business. which tells you something about kid acting as the profession. And, oh, you know what I forgot? I have a passenger. Hi.
Hi. I always dress like this when I drive with Paul.
This is my little sister, Patty Peterson, who you remember from the last 3 years in the Donna Reed show.
Well, Tricia, darling, you're not supposed to be out of bed. I'm thirsty.
This today, in fact, is the first time in 17 years that we've been on camera together.
That's right.
We had a lot of fun in those days.
We sure did.
The entire motion picture industry, and indeed movie fans all over the world, were saddened by the passing of veteran Hollywood star Pat O'Brien at the age of 83. We feel so honored to have had the opportunity of capturing Pat's final television appearance. His performance for us was one of his most famous scenes, the legendary locker room speech from his best remembered picture, Knute Rockne, All-American. The story of Notre Dame football coach Knute Rockne and his protege, football star George Gipp, played by a young Ronald Reagan, has been an inspiration to athletes and fans for generations. But unfortunately, if you watch this movie on television, you won't see the locker room scene and several others that are the very heart of the story.
What do you think, you're holding, a hot potato?
You see, those scenes were written by radio writer John Driscoll, and Warner Brothers never purchased the television rights. Even John Driscoll didn't know the real reason. He only found out about it recently. One of those missing scenes was the hospital scene in which George Gipp asks Rockne to have the team win one for the Gipper. Driscoll recalls that when he was working with Ronald Reagan on G Theater, the film played on late-night TV.
When I came on the set the following morning, he was very upset because they had cut the Gipper's death scene, his big scene, and substituted a commercial. I didn't blame him. It was a key scene in the picture.
Better go on home, Molly.
So now, here is the famous locker room speech as done by Pat O'Brien for the first time in a movie in 1940 and for the last time on our show at the age of 83.
I'm going to tell you something I've kept to myself for years. None of you ever knew George Gipp, but you all know what a tradition he is at Notre Dame. And the last thing he said to me, Rock, he said, sometime when the team is up against it and the breaks are beating the boys, tell them to go out there with all they got and win just one for the Gipper.
I don't know where I'll be then, Coach. But I'll know about it. And I'll be happy.
All right, I want the backfield to hit that line, right side, left side, left, right, left. I want you to go down that field, right down that field. They can't stop it, somebody can stop it. I want you to go for Notre Dame.
We are so privileged to have that moment on our show. It can never be lost. But what about the lost scenes from the movie? Here's how Pat reacted when we asked him about them.
I get letters from, well, I guess you'd say all over the world asking me about it, figuring that I'd know something about it. After all, you know, we did this picture over 40 years ago. And little did we think at that time that the Gipper would be now the President of our United States. Oh, yes, I get asked about it, but I don't know. Naturally, I wish they were back in there.
And here's another interested party. Notre Dame alumnus and quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, Joe Montana.
Notre Dame football was everything to me. People like Rockne, the Gipper, they were everything, the spirit, the legend. And when I got to Notre Dame, I kind of felt funny. I thought I might have been the only one, but it was surrounded the campus, the players, everyone. The spirit was there. The old locker room scene, the win one for the Gipper, and well, that meant everything to the guys. It's a big part of Notre Dame tradition. The TV version of New Rock and Yellow American doesn't have a lot of these scenes. I would like to make an appeal and hope that the producers would change it and put these scenes back in.
Next one for the Gipper.
Let's hope we can get those scenes restored to Knut Rock New American and win one for Pat.
Yes, we'll have a pan pizza with pepperoni and Italian sausage.
So will we. Plus beef and pork toppings.
Yeah, us two, plus onions.
And ham.
Mushrooms.
Black olives.
Green peppers.
There's just one name for a pizza like that. Pizza Hut Super Supreme Pan Pizza. 9 most delicious toppings on America's most popular dinner pizza.
Super.
Super Supreme.
At your hometown Pizza Hut.
From the land of sky blue waters, from the land of pines, lofty balsams, comes the beer refreshing.
You can't beat the bear for fun or hams for great taste. Always refreshing. And when you want a light beer, enjoy a cold, crisp ham special light. Watch it!
Hams the beer refreshing, hams the beer refreshing, hams.
Ernie Kovacs, funny man, family man.
The comedy comes from the back of the head.
Until his children were taken from him. Ernie Kovacs, Between the Laughter, Monday.
Tonight on 2020, should a convicted murderer go free because of an improper search warrant? Plus, Jim McKay on how the Soviet pullout could affect competition in L.A. on 2020 next.
Our thanks to all those wonderful celebrities who helped us find out where they are now and what they are doing where they are. And to all of you who watched our show, until we meet again on Fantasy Island and on the next edition of Celebrities, Where Are They Now? Good night.
This is David Hartman. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, more on aid to Central America. Also Raymond Burr, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., and Telly Savalas. Next week, Linda McCartney and Kirk Douglas on Good Morning America.
This is Peter Jennings. Tomorrow on ABC's World News Tonight, the two Germanys. A wall divides them and they have different political systems. But many Germans still think of one nation.
Sunday following Ripley's Believe It or Not, Jane Fonda stars in The Doll Maker, a special presentation of the Sunday night movie. Now stay tuned for an ABC Newsbreak.